Good evening from the Nation Center in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, and welcome to Front and Center. This is a program where we dissect the biggest political, governance and policy issues in the Republic. And tonight we want to get into the issue of the big joint military and police operation currently ongoing, or that is set to begin tomorrow in Kenya's volatile north. That endemic fight to end banditry, to end the proliferation of arms is set to go a notch higher tomorrow. That is, of course, after the 3-day amnesty that was issued by the Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki for everyone with illegal firearms to return them. And of course, we have been in that part of the country. Our reporters have been traversing that area, and we can report tonight that the authorities have reported that they haven't received any illegal arms so far. So we don't know what is going on. Of course, the military has joined the police to comb that area that has been bedeviled by banditry for decades. I am joined in studio by security analyst George Musamali, who will be joining us live tonight from the county of Bungoma. In studio with me, I have Augustine Lokwang, peace and security consultant. Thank you, sir, for joining us tonight. Also with me, retired Brigadier Ahmed Mohammed, defense and security advisor at Horn Institute. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Let's begin where we should. Augustine, let me begin with you. How did we get here? Before we get to where we are in terms of the government's strategy to deal with this, where did the rain start beating us in, as far as banditry and cattle rustling and all those things are concerned?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ben. Allow me to start with a bit of background as part of addressing the question you've raised.
Right.
I want to put out some conservative statistics regarding the situation in the North Rift region. Even before the spike that actually led to the deployment that we've seen today, yeah. We had about 15 schools across the North Rift region closed, about 2,000 students out of school, a known number of citizens displaced, farmers not able to access much of their farmlands. That means then they were not in any productive activities. Because of the effects of this challenge, we've had many students not able to access school because of the rising poverty levels, because families are not able to pay their school fees. And on top of this, livelihoods have actually been significantly affected. Right. Social amenities have been vandalized, and access to essential services is a big challenge in the region. On top of this, you can place the compounding effect of drought, right, across this region. This is very important to understand, because then we are able to connect with the challenges and the problems of this region. And what we are talking about is chronic banditry, a banditry that has actually overwhelmed police operators, and banditry that is bordering to insurgency activities. And as the governor Trans Nzoia put it, looking at it from his ex-RC and the fact that he's a political leader today, yeah. He's called it terrorism, because terrorism, you'd expect that there are attacks on security officers. We have sustained attacks on residents with the purpose of displacing communities. We have disruption of public delivery of public goods and services by government. I think most county governments will talk about inability to access some of these areas, yeah, to be able to do devolved projects. Do
you agree with him that it is indeed terrorism?
To a large extent, a few indicators are not pointing to that, but largely the use of violence, the instilling of fear, and creating communities to be able to move from their traditional areas to other areas seeking asylum. But besides that, again, the impact of the the impact of banditry on local economy, disruption of public traffic, and acts of arson on public installation, including schools.
All right. So we will get into all these issues. Let me get the feel of George Musamali from Bungoma. Musamali, we have seen people saying that we have to deal, or the country, the government has to deal with this from its very roots, apart from the police, strategy, apart from what we're seeing now, the joint military operation and police operation. Before we get to that, are these such deeply rooted problems that are, we did hear George Natembea, the Trans Nzoia governor, say the other day that some of these guys in the North Rift are given guns and ammunition from the age of 3. Is there a need for some social re-engineering? Is that more important than reacting to these guys when they are hardcore criminals? What is your take on where the problem starts?
Thank you, Ben, for inviting me. My feel is that what you're trying to do is treating the symptoms, but not the disease. And when we look at the problem that is bedeviling that area, it's something that is historical. It did not start today, nor yesterday. And I believe that the intervention that the government is taking right now will not give us a lasting solution to this problem. We need to look at the history of this problem. And if you look very closely, you do research, you'll find that the first military operation in that area was mounted in 1918. This was done by the British, because the same problem that you're dealing with right now is the problem that was there in 1918. And when this operation was mounted, they managed to capture one suspect known as Lolel Koloi, and this person was deported to Mombasa. That was the major first operation that was conducted in that area by the military. Coming closer to time, we had another operation that was conducted in 1984, and we codenamed this operation Operation Nyundo. The person in charge of this operation was Major Kaiseri that time, and later Major Kaiseri became a Major General. He retired from the military. He became the Minister for Interior, and in the Office of Minister of Interior, he was dealing with the same problems that he was dealing with in 1984. So if we look very closely, I believe that military intervention alone or security intervention will not give us a solution to this problem. Something much needs to be done. So far we've been using only tactics, and these tactics that have been failing us during all this time. So we need now to strategize. Let us look at the whole picture, see what is breeding this banditry, and then treat the disease, not the symptoms.
Thank you, George. Brigadier, what is the root cause of this from where you sit in a nutshell? I mean, it's not a straight answer, is it?
Well, thank you, Ben, for having me here. And I fully agree it's not a straight answer. And this is a very complex conflict that has been there over the years in a very, I'll say, remote, challenged area, semi-arid, dry, hot, and characterized by mainly people who are pastoralists and who actually thrive on the livestock industry. And the fact that even before the pre-colonial period, they used to actually have their own lands, big lands, where they could move very freely. And at that time, there was no government, but these communities had a way of communicating to themselves. In terms of the grazings, when one area is dry, the other has the greens, they'll talk and move around across all those areas. With time now, we find that that land has been squeezed much more after independence, so squeezed that it's now very small. And they can't go as far as they want to go in terms of stretching their animals. And because of that, therefore, you find that, and these great issues of economic strain and all that, they are finding it hard to survive. But while that is the case, we have the government in place, and they should be able to go through government and address their key concerns. Indeed, the issue is a matter of concern to to the national authorities. And I feel that the better approach is for them to approach government and find a better way of handling. Now, having said that, however, I find that, again, the issue is not really a threat to government per se. They don't come out like other groups and attack government per se. What they are doing is actually cattle rustling, which they have been doing over the years for so many years. But the way they are doing it now is not what is right, because not right now, because now we are an independent country, we have a government, and therefore they should be able to really control their activities and be able to get what they need in a better way than what they are doing now.
In the same breath, Brigadier, they have killed over 100 civilians and 16 police officers over the last 6 months, according to the government.
Yes, that is true. That is very true, Ben. And I'll say again that, you see, in those old traditional days, the weapons of use were bows and arrows and spears. And you'll fight and take what you want. In fact, at that time, take what you want. And the other group will come and retaliate. Again, after a while, come back and it was a game, actually, that they were playing across each other. Now, over time, you find that ball game has changed. They have realized that they can get better weapons, they can get guns now, they can get more animals as they want, they can actually stretch their arm as far as they can. Now, in doing this, the whole concept has changed. It's not that what you may call the past approaches. It's now much more commercialized. You know, there are big elements involved in this and bigger players in this. And in terms of attack to government, attack to people, that concept is different now. And I believe they are doing it in terms of when they go for what they want. It's not going for, per se, kill women and children. Yeah. If you obstruct them, like now, you see, again, you must realize, Kwame put it very clearly, where they come from. If you are a young man, not going to school, you're only a hero, you can deliver animals. Go out there and deliver. You only marry wives, you can go and deliver. That time is gone now.
Okay.
There's drought now. They're less animals. They can see others having the animals. They go out and do that. But what we are saying is there are better ways of doing it. Their issue can be addressed better. You need to talk to government instead of actually doing what they're doing.
Augustine, how much has this changed? Very quickly, I want us to take a quick commercial break and come back. How much has this changed? There are analysts and security experts who say that the game is bigger, like Brigadier says, that involves even political players and businessmen who, in fact, own some of these animals, and they are the ones who, in essence, control this illegal trade, which was initially a cultural thing, but has metamorphosed to something else. How big has this changed?
Yeah, thank you very much. Indeed, this challenge of banditry has really significantly changed, and for a number of reasons. And as my colleague has already pointed out, we were talking about banditry for social reasons. And social reasons in this region will be you would want to, get some livestock through raids to be able to marry. Or you would want to restock after effects of drought. But as we speak today, we have, on top of communities being the primary actors, we now have other actors that we are not necessarily able to see. Politicians are behind the bandits. We have a whole lot of actors between the bandits and the beef market. So you will talk about rogue security officers. You will talk about the people who handle contraband livestock. Yeah. So today the actors and the positions and the reasons and drivers for banditry have increased from social reasons and motives to now political and economic motives. You have had analysts say, communities are being used to be able to create political and administrative units using violence. You've had about one ward, for example, being contested by 2 counties or by 2 constituencies. You've had about the issue of natural resources, geothermal resources. You talk about oil. You have the issue of land and boundaries. Right. These are key issues that have significantly transformed the conflict relationship between these communities. Right. And it is cross-cutting across almost 6 counties of the North Rift. It is not about communities It is about bigger interest and more strategic interest behind the bandit. The bandit is only but a means towards the strategic end. I also want to try to profile this as a critical issue that really must receive adequate national attention. We cannot justify bandits attacking a certain society and that they will kill 1 or 2 people. We are talking about Kenyan citizens. And in this sense, the threat that the bandit poses on Kenyans in the North Rift could equally be the same threat posed to other counties and communities from other parts of the country. Remember one thing, the bandit actually attacks public transport. You don't want to talk about such attacks being directed only among members of communities that are actually in adversary relationship. It could be someone else from Mombasa heading to the other part of the country. And this is really how we should view the challenge of banditry in the North Rift. Thank you.
All right. I want us to talk about the operation by the security agencies in this country over the last few decades, where they've gone right, what they've done wrong, and of course this time round involving the military. Before we get into that, Musamali, do you think there is political will to try and solve some of these situations against the backdrop of this report of some political players being behind some of these raids and cattle business? And of course tonight there's a story we're following up on, trying to get more information at the DCI that the Pokot South Member of Parliament David Kosing was arrested over allegations of funding some of those things. We are still trying to get information from the DCI, but that has happened over the last 5 hours. Do you think there is political will, Musamali, to end these problems?
Ben, I believe what is happening in this country is that we are really focusing on the wrong part of this problem. And this is why we've been here from 1918 to date. We're just looking at the bandits, but we're not looking at the community. And this is why I said we are using more tact than strategy in dealing with the issue of insecurity in North Rift. I think time has come where now we need to move or shift focus from the bandits to the community. Yes, we are making arrests. We are saying that there's political incitement behind this. We are reading politics on this. We are reading economic factors in this. But how did we get here? That is the question that we need to answer. Because it's not the first time we are arresting people. I remember I've talked about Koil, who was arrested in 1918. He was deported to Mombasa. 1984, we arrested a person known as Major Maua. He was arraigned in court in Eldoret. I remember I was schooling in Eldoret. This person went through full trial, and he was released for lack of evidence. And in the near future, we arrested Francis Eletodo, who was then a minister. Where did that case end? So all these issues of saying that there's political incitement behind this, and then at the end of the day, we are not coming up, arraigning these people, coming up with evidence that is sustainable in court, and then having these people convicted, then it means we are just chasing wind. So basically, what I'm saying is that we should move our focus from the bandits. We are only talking about the bandits. What about the community? Because if you look at this community, this is a community that is embracing banditry. Nothing happens in a vacuum. If you look at it very closely, these are people who are willing to live with these bandits. There are people who are not willing to cooperate with the government. There are people who are not giving popular intelligence to government so that we can root out the bandits from the community. So where are we getting it wrong? I mean, this is the question that we need to ask ourselves as a community, as a country. Because if you follow very closely, you realize we are dealing with a community that has been systematically marginalized for quite a long time. These people don't feel that they are part of this country. These people are only using what they know to survive in a very harsh environment and in a very harsh economic times. So unless we deal with this, look at the community. I've been to those areas, Ben. I served there. And if you look very closely, any school that you'll see there has either been built by the NGOs or has been built by the church. If you have a water well that has been drilled there, it has been drilled by well-wishers. These people don't see the hand of the government in all these activities. So basically, we are looking at a people who are feeling we've been marginalized, and the only way we can survive is let us deal with the bandits as opposed to dealing with the government. Because anytime they see the government will come in terms of security operations. They will see the police. Now we are sending the military. They will see a Minister of Interior who will come there with military fatigues, not coming with a friendly face. So unless we address these issues, we will be talking about this year in, year out, and will not get a solution.
Thank you, Mr. Mali. On the same note, Brigadier, what is the role of these communities, these painfully marginalized communities?
Well, over the years, it has been quite painful because they have been marginalized with little development, and that has really had an effect on the people. But I want to say that that was in the early years. Now, things have changed. Things have changed now. We are seeing much development in most of the country that wasn't there before. In fact, I know for some time we used to blame in those areas, all of them, starting from the North Rift all the way to Northeast and down south, we used to blame government. But with the devolution now, we are giving you funds. Go and help your people. Go and do development. So that national government has a role, the county government has a role. With that, you can say, no, we are not being assisted. And this is where a point where you consider your people as a governor and see what is important, what comes first, and do something. So to me, I don't see it really as much more of sending a message that we are still far behind, come to us. This one to me is just a banditry and all that, really. There are better ways of addressing it, and it's not the way to pass that message across. You know, to me, and of course, again, if there are issues that need to be discussed in terms of the people and being marginalized and the development, there is the leaders, political leaders. Talk to government and get what you would need. And even if you fail to get that, really, dialogue and diplomacy is the best way to go. That at some point you'll get what you want. The way they're doing now is not the way to go. I'm sorry. Before
I get Lokwang's views on the role of communities, Brigadier, do you think there is political will in the 360-degree way of looking at this? Well,
I will say throughout, there has been political will. Where the failure has been in real action. You haven't seen that real action that needs to be done. So that by now, and I always say by now, 60 years independence, we should be having these clan conflicts. We shouldn't be having this cattle rustling. You know, by now, the government presence should be felt across board. We should see development. We should see schools. We should see boreholes. We should see dams, roads, which we are seeing now. You know, and also the fact that for some reasons, I won't blame the government, because the people themselves, there are good schools that have been built, very good schools. Those have been done. Their government is very near. What I know may be a challenge, and which is now causing this problem, is the issue of ungoverned spaces in those areas. A lot of stretches that are empty, nobody is there, government is not there, you know, and therefore that provides that fertile ground for anybody who is armed to move in and do what he does. To me, that can be controlled also in time.
All right. Mr. Lokwang, there has been some of these areas, especially the 6 counties that we are talking about, have been marginalized for ages. But over the last, 10 years, there is the devolved governments. What is the role of these communities? What is the role of the county governments? And as we say this, like Brigadier says, there are some areas that are really not governed, north of Tiati. So what is the role of the communities in this entire game?
Yeah, let me begin with the role of the county governments and the impact of devolution in these areas. I think governance and resources have been moved to the county level.
Right.
And by virtue of Constitution of Kenya 2010, the devolved units have powers and legitimate responsibility to deliver very essential services, especially those laid out in Chapter 4 of the Constitution. The 10 years of devolution, we've seen significant improvements. If you visit some of these counties, except that these improvements have remained in urban areas, but some projects have also been deployed in rural areas. The biggest challenge counties currently are grappling with is the issue of security, to be able to deploy projects in hard-to-reach areas. Counties currently, and this is across Kenya, are cooperating under economic blocks. And this region of the North Rift, there are two active economic blocks. We have the NOREB, this is North Rift Economic Block, that brings almost all the North Rift counties, including even South Rift counties, together. And through this block, there has been significant discussions on how to develop the North Rift and explore opportunities that the region offers. Besides that, one of the biggest agenda for the bloc is peace building and conflict management, to bring communities together so that then there is an end to fighting. So even as we speak, and in the current circumstances of the operations underway, county governments must really participate and support security agencies in the areas that have been gazetted as troubled. The role of leadership, especially at the county level, and in ensuring that communities work with the security agencies for the betterment of stabilization of the North Rift is very, very significant. Politics aside, devolution is the main game changer for this region. For communities, not all these communities are really part and parcel of the challenges of insecurity in this region. We have community leaders at the grassroots level that are committed to peace.
All right. I want you to hold that thought. I want us to take a quick commercial break here on Front and Center. When we come back, we will focus on that joint military and police operation that is currently ongoing in those 6 areas, in those 6 counties that were declared by the government as disturbed and dangerous. And of course, also take a look at where the government or the security agencies have gone wrong in the past, where we've seen ambushes by those bandits as police try to intervene, and we've lost lives, we've lost law enforcement officers. Let's take a quick commercial break. Don't go too far. We're back shortly. Stay with us.
Nikakuja kujua son of man haji kupika vile na si interest yake vile, so hizo expectations niweke kando,
uendelee ujipange tamwana wa kairetu.
When it comes to finances, I love to budget.
you have to budget. Your wife
Grow your biashara by accessing loans, investment options, convenient banking, network opportunities, and so much more. Njoo tukujenge. Visit any one of our 93 branches countrywide. Family Bank is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
Who am I? Why am I here? What will I be remembered for?
These questions come to a man at different stages of his life.
Early for some, late for others. Yet some men go through life groping for answers.
But fortunately for you, this doesn't have to be the case.
The second edition of Man Cave is an event
where you'll get to spend time with different men. Learn from those who've gone ahead of you
on the journey that is a man's life. Take a trip to the Serene Lake House, Tigoni, and experience the perfect boys' getaway. Full of fun-filled games, cars, food, nyama choma, drinks, networking opportunities. 25th of February. Grab your tickets by going to www.kenyabars.com today. The Man Cave. It's a man's affair.
I know the question on most people's minds is, why was the other senator even bothered by Karen Nyamo's hands? Like, how are they affecting him? Well, in his defense, he was just doing his work. Part of the responsibilities of an MP or a senator is to check the other arms of government. No. Like, wait. Cleveland, before you respond, are you saying that you're only dangerous in Nairobi?
No.
Ukiingizwa Turkana, that's it.
No, that's not the case.
The reason why the military is there in the first place is for support.
For support, in my simple mind, it would mean that KDF are there with the police, but KDF stands aside and shows the police, shoot this one. Like,
Grow your biashara by accessing loans, investment options, convenient banking, network opportunities, and so much more. Njoo tukujenge. Visit any one of our 93 branches countrywide. Family Bank is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
Don't you realize that because of you, my son is being accused of very ugly things?
I am sorry, ma'am, but I didn't have anything to do with that. I only came here to speak with Mickey.
Marissa, what are you doing here?
I came over because I was worried.
Okay, come inside then. Let's talk here.
No.
I'm pretty sure your godmother hates me now, am I right?
She'll get over it for sure. Oh, hey, by the way, I told Mickey about what happened. And he said we should go see a doctor just to be careful.
Did you tell Mickey?
It had to be you.
The Great Oasis Gardens in Nanyuki by Optiven is the perfect piece of land for you. Pay 379,000 and get 6,000 bob cashback. Call us on 0790 300 300.
Welcome back to the broadcast. This is Front and Center here on NTV. We are focusing on the issue of insecurity in Kenya's wild north, where a joint military and police operation is set to begin in the next few hours. That is after the 3-day ultimatum amnesty given by the Interior CS Kithure Kindiki for illegal weapons, illegal firearms to be surrendered to the government elapsed, and that is according to what the government's officials have been able to speak to. No guns have been surrendered to the government. I don't know what that says. I want us to get into the issue of the military, the joint operation. Musamali, let me begin with you. And you said focus is a lot on the bandits, but there is a joint military police operation that is currently ongoing that is dividing opinion. We've seen the opposition leader today, Raila Odinga, faulting the government for sending the troops to join the police in that operation without following due procedure. That is, of course, being ratified by Parliament. But is it the right move to send in the cavalry, to use that metaphor?
I believe we as a people have already profiled that part of Kenya, and this is why you are calling it the wild north. So when we go there with that mentality, automatically you will find that we even codename our operations in that area as Operation Nyundo. You go there with a mallet, believing everybody there is a bandit, forgetting that we have communities there that have been coexisting peacefully for a very long time, And what you're not getting right is, why do we have this conflict? Why are we breeding these bandits? And unless we answer that question, whether we take the military there, we use the police there, we will still be facing the same problem. So the moment we as a people have profiled our people and we say that there is insecurity there because the communities there don't want to coexist peacefully, then automatically everybody will support the kind of interventions that we're using currently by sending the military there. And I've said, Kitili, that this is not the first time we are having a military operation in those areas. But have they borne any fruit? The question we need to ask ourselves, why is it easy for these people now to work with the bandits and not the government? And I said earlier that you will find that the community will embrace banditries because simply these are the people that bring home the bread. We've made it a commercial venture. Initially it was cultural, but now we've made it commercial. They will steal this cattle. We have a ready market. You walk along the Eldoret Nairobi road at night, you will find Rolly ferrying this cattle to Nairobi. Where do these cattle come from? You use the Nakuru Margat road, you will find Rollies at night ferrying goats heading to the market in Nairobi. Where are these animals coming from? Corruption is also playing a big role in the kind of insecurity that we're experiencing down there. So what we need to do as a people is to look at the communities in this area. What are they lacking? Why are we not giving them? We've talked about we've talked about going now to the county governments, devolution. I look at the leaders from those areas. Trust me, most of those leaders don't reside in those areas. If you go to places like Turkana, you go to places like West Pokot, these people only come here when we are heading into elections. When they win elections, most of them are settled in Kitale. This other side of Baringo, you will find that most of those leaders reside in Nakuru and in Nairobi. They have lost touch with the community. So unless we look at the community and try and allay their problems, and I really like taking an example of Uganda. President Museveni realized that we have a problem in Karamoja. And what did he do? He appointed Janet Museveni to be the Minister of Karamojong. And then eventually they looked at the problem holistically. They went there, built dams. People now are farmers, are not only relying on rearing of cattle as a means of earning a living. They have built schools. We have roads there. And then the guns have gone quiet.
All right.
In Kenya, we tried. We had the Takwel Gorge. We tried that dam. We say that apart from generating electricity, people can use that water for irrigation and also for watering their animals. But what happened? Corruption came in. We ate the money. And now we are back talking about the same problem that is supposed to have been allayed by doing the right thing.
Well said,
so I believe that the military intervention alone is not enough.
Well said, and all those issues are true, and we'll continue to dissect them here, what needs to be done once and for all. But I have to ask you this. What is the right kind of government response in a security kind of way?
I believe what we're supposed to do, Ben, is that before we send in the military, we are supposed to have done a research of exactly what the problem and what is ailing these people. And then, apart from military intervention, we should have come up with other measures to ensure that we integrate the community to the rest of Kenya, bring civilization to the people. And if I was the president, I would not have sent in the Minister of Interior in military fatigue. I would have sent there the Minister of Interior, accompanied by the Minister for Education, accompanied by the Minister for Health, accompanied by the Minister for Trade, and then the military intervention will come later. And even if I send in the military, I will not send in a fighting patrol. I'll send the military there to go and give humanitarian assistance to these people. Send in the military, let them come in with medical assistance. Send in the military, let them come in with water drilling equipment, so that the community will see a friendly face of the government. But as it is right now, the people are looking at the government as an enemy. They are sending in the military to come and hit us. And that is where now the problem is. You will not get anybody surrendering any firearm there. Because already we gave them a 3 days ultimatum, the bandits have disappeared. And everybody is also running away. We are displacing communities. Schools will not work. And that is the wrong approach to this whole issue.
All right. Brigadier, what do you think of the government's response to sending the military to that joint operation with the police?
Ben Musamali has put it out very, very well indeed, in terms of addressing the problem. And what you have seen so far is that it is quiet. I'm happy that so far no single shot has been fired from either side, which is very good, And what we need to do basically, I'll come back to the armed forces first, is to pacify the current situation, bring peace immediately now, and then follow on that with what Mr. Mali is saying in terms of development, in terms of roads, in terms of schools, in terms of water. But I'm reminded that after the post-election violence in 0708, we did so many dams and boreholes in that area. But they not received very well. In fact, I remember some of the boreholes were actually refilled by the other side. Come in and refill them, which was quite worrying. So to me, what we need to do is go back, right now pacify, and then go back and sit with the leaders, the elders, and the people. See what is ailing them, see where we can come in and provide that development, and see how we can actually overcome this challenge in the future. The challenge has been in the past, or practice has been in the past, that we come in, we do what we are doing now, we move out, and nothing has been done. What we need is now cover the ungoverned spaces, now have presence of security across the entire area, assure the people that, yes, we are here. And I want to remind, in fact, everybody, that the responsibility for the protection of every inch of this country, of every person in this country, then lies with the government. There's no room for anybody to arm himself and say, I want to take care of my animals. No. No. They should be assured and have that confidence that the government will do it. Now, for the government then, what do? Can you build that confidence in the people? How do you do it? Show your presence, establish yourself. Let's see those peaceful patrols. Let's see more outposts. Let's see more administration on ground. And let's see that good relation between the government and the people in terms of exchange of information, in terms of development, and let's have them lead a very peaceful life. It can be done, and in fact now, the fact that there's a lull right now, there's no fighting going on.
Brigadier, hold that thought a bit. We are following a story, of course, where the Pokot South MP, David Kosing, was arrested earlier in the evening. Let's take you live to the DCI headquarters and listen to his lawyer currently speaking.
Picked from the presence of his officers, dragged to the DCI on allegations that he is the mastermind, he's the person funding, he's the architect of the banditry in the north of the Rift Valley. We have come here. He has given his version of the story. He has never owned a white chopper, and it is all over that the alleged chopper that is supposed to be funding or transporting the bandits is white. Mheshimiwa has accounted for all the days since this issue started. And that is why he has been released to go home. He's not under any police custody. The issues in this matter is that Mheshimiwa was warned by a cabinet secretary that he will be arrested. That is not the way, because the CS has no mandate at all to arrest. He does not have the police powers of arresting. Article 244 and Article 245 gives the Inspector General of Police absolute power to arrest. He only takes direction pursuant to Article 157 from the Director of Public Prosecution. So that is why Mheshimiwa's arrest is a political witch hunt. Mheshimiwa comes from the Azimio wing of the politics of this country. He is the first one to be arrested, and we are urging the government not to politicize the war against banditry. Yes, we know quite a number of police officers have died. We have passed our condolences to the families of the gallant soldiers, the police officers who have died. But let that not be the reason why innocent members of parliament are being hauled to the DCI at the night. Mheshimiwa could have been summoned, or his lawyers could have been told, or the speaker could have been told that Mheshimiwa is required here. This is an act of humiliation, an act of devaluing the dignity of the honorable member of parliament. You've seen the number of legislators who have abandoned their duties to be in support with their colleague who has been arrested and humiliated. But we want to thank the DCI. The DCI has handled Mheshimiwa very professionally. They have understood his explanation, and that is why he has been released on P55 form. He will be required to be here tomorrow morning for further clarification. We have also demanded those who are putting complaints against Mheshimiwa to record a statement. Once recorded a statement, then Mheshimiwa can respond appropriately. But otherwise, this was a political witch hunt. This has no basis on law. And if Mheshimiwa is required anytime, we undertake that we'll provide him, we'll bring him here, his colleagues will bring him here. He is not a petty criminal. He has been a member of parliament. This is his third term. That tells you the quality and the trust the people he represents have in him. That tells you the type of respect Kenyans have in him for the number of debates and bills that he has manufactured. That is why actually he was appointed a chair of a parliamentary committee. So, let me allow one or two members to say, then Mheshimiwa will finalize what he wants to say.
Thank you, the media.
Let's move here. Let's exchange positions briefly.
We've come here in solidarity with our colleague, our legislator from Pokot South, who unfortunately this evening was picked in a manner that has been explained to you by Wakili and brought to the DCI. We were actually also wondering what he has done. And so we've come here and we've actually been told whatever brought him here. For us, actually, we think that will not be what can actually bring somebody in that manner to the DCI. We looked at it as something that is beyond what the normal law process will be. And so we are thankful to the DCI for having actually looked through it and saw it good, fit for him to be released to go home and be able to come tomorrow to finish whatever small that is there. So as legislators, we want to thank the DCI for being professional, but we also want to condemn any other underhand that we might not be able to see that could have actually forced and brought Mheshimiwa to this precinct of the DCI in a manner that he was brought in. Thank you.
Probably you could name the members of the Legislative Assembly, the members who are present.
Well, I think we've come from West Pokot in solidarity as the members of the West Pokot County. We've come with our Senator, Senator Julius Murgor. We've come with the member of the Pokot Central, Mheshimiwa Peter Lochakapong will say something. We've also come with the women rep from West Pokot, Mheshimiwa Rael Cheptinde. We've come with the Speaker of the County Assembly of West Pokot. They are also here. And then with
live pictures there from the DCI headquarters along Kiambu Road. The Pokot South Member of Parliament, David Kopsing, there, flanked by his legal team and some colleagues, like they were being introduced there from the county of West Pokot. He has been released. He was picked up early in the evening over allegations of funding some of those bandit attacks in the Kerio Valley. He has been released by the police. We are keeping an eye on this developing story for you. Before we wind up, gentlemen, and I get your final thoughts very quickly, maybe I can get your thoughts in like 40 seconds on what's going there.
All right.
What's going on there?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ben, again. Just to develop the presentation that Msomali has actually shared before this break, is that there are two steps to what needs to be done. And the first step is exactly what is currently happening, which is the government moving in to be able to stabilize this region and bring back the confidence of the residents of this region. And let this government effort not be seen as targeting particular leaders or particular communities. Let it be seen as an intervention by government to bring order and the maintenance of law in the area, so that then the next steps would be development interventions that will improve the conditions of residents of this region. And we would just need to draw a parallel to exactly the same thing that happened in Karamoja region. And this has always been used as a parallel to what needs to be done in the region. Today, UPDF has been in Karamoja for over 2 decades, and the banditry hasn't been rooted out 100%. But there has been a mix of interventions, both security and development interventions. What needs to happen now is that government, and I mean national government and the county governments, need to work on a Marshall Plan that will exploit the gains of the current operation to enable this region to be moved away from dependency on current livelihoods and exploiting, small arms and light weapons to be able to earn a living. Especially targeting the youth, because Ben, currently the larger population of this region that is caught up in this kind of mess are actually the youth. And if that government invests in youth empowerment programs, and there is a lot of stakeholder engagement and cooperation, and putting communities right at the center of it, we will be able to stabilize the North Rift, and the North Rift will be able to contribute to national development. Thank you.
Brigadier, my last question to you tonight. We have mentioned the drought that is currently ravaging many parts of the country, not less the northern part of this country. So we have drought-stricken borderlands, borders with South Sudan, Ethiopia, Uganda. Is there any impact on the region with the joint security operation that is ongoing, disarmament program? Is there any impact on the region from what's happening in the north?
Ben, what I'll say is that, in fact, tied into what is going on now and our operations in the North Rift. For instance, if we were to disarm everybody in that region, one may argue that our people will be exposed to the Karamoja, the Raposa, and Ongiso up in the north. And I go back to my first point again, that again, it is a function of government to provide that security. In fact, the answer comes in terms of securing our borders. And therefore, what I want to say is that the approach in terms of both what we are seeing now, in terms of control of small arms, in terms of drought, should be done much more at a regional level. And in security also, all be done at the regional level in terms of either IGAD and EAC and others who will take it on positively together and address those issues together. Because as I said, a gap in North Rift will expose the people to what is going on in the Karamoja and the other areas. Therefore, that should be same thing also for the masturbate areas. Up in them, if you disarm them all, again that comes up. But I want to say again that we are not deploying forces all over, and we are seeing that happening across the country. Yeah. Secure our borders, and therefore we did not fear anything in terms of external threats and all that. I know the government is ready in terms of response to this. But in closing, also, Ben, allow me to say something about North Rift and the other areas. North Rift, technically, is no different from Upper Eastern. It's no different from North Eastern. It's no different from Tana River. Why don't we see the uprisings in those areas? The issue of isolated development in North Rift is not a standalone issue. What I'll say is the government has that responsibility across the entire ASAL areas. Treat them all equally and see development coming in. So North Rift is not unique by saying develop North Rift. No. Let's treat them all equally. And in doing that, let's ensure that every Kenyan, wherever he is in this country, feels that security coming in from the government. Thank you.
All right, thank you. George Musamali, give us your final thoughts tonight. Given what's happening in the country, in the north, and that joint operation, what will you leave Kenyans with tonight?
I believe we are all Kenyans, and I believe that Kenyans should see the government in a friendly way, as opposed to now where we have a situation where you have insecurity. Instead of coming up with friendly interventions, we are going there with threats to the communities. Yet we've not looked deeply and seen exactly what is ailing these people. Where is the problem? And believe me, Ben, if we continue that way, we'll transfer the same problem from North Rift, we'll transfer the same problem from Tana River, we'll transfer the same problem from Northeastern to our urban centers. The challenges that the youth are facing in North Rift, Northeastern, and Tana River are the same challenges that the youth are facing in Nairobi. And unless we change our focus and see that, become people-friendly, and come up with solutions that will build the community and pacify them, then we are facing a problem that very soon is going to explode, and it will touch across the whole country. This is something that we need to be very careful not to get there, and then let us come up with interventions that are people-friendly.
Thank you, Musamali. With your final thoughts, Mr. Lokwang, just 30 seconds on it.
Yeah, I think the current deployment of boots on the ground would require that local administrative structures, local stakeholders down at the grassroots level have to be involved in the processes of getting these operations really roll out on the ground. But above all, again, the political goodwill to address this challenge requires that we have government think about a long-term approach and presence of security agencies, so that it's not a one-off deployment, and that it is 2 weeks and then security forces are back to their camps.
All right.
It needs to be a bit more prolonged. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me tonight and helping shed some light on what's happening in the north of the country. I had with me Augustine Lokwang, Peace and Security Consultant, Brigadier Retired Ahmed Mohammed, Defense and Security Advisor at Horn Institute, and of course, Security Analyst George Musamali, joining us all the way from the county of Bungoma. Many thanks for joining us tonight. That's why we leave it on the show tonight, front and center. We shall continue to keep an eye on that joint security operation, the joint military and police operation in the north of the country, in those regions, in those 6 counties that is set to start in a few hours. Our teams are traversing that area. We shall be bringing you blow-by-blow account of what's happening there. I'm Ben Kitili. For all of us here on the show, thank you for watching. Good night from Nairobi.